Right, we're ready to start on the handles, and we're going to start by making the little sort of cantilope hollow parts where the chains are going to go through to make up your handles for your bag, and that is made in the cantilope must-have. I know that I'm attaching it to the sample I'd already made, which has got the blue yarn on, but obviously yours is going to look more like this. And I will be making one in that as soon as I have the time. So you're going to obviously make 4 of these. I've just done one to practice, to make sure I know what I'm doing. And I'll do one with you and then I'll finish the other 2 off all by myself. It's quite straightforward. Let's start straight away. Okay, we're going to start in the corner space of that final row that we edged our bag with, and I'm going to join my yarn like I did at the beginning. I don't know if you remember all the way back or if you even watched it, like I did when I was doing my hexagons, and that is to say pull the loop through and fasten it with a slip stitch. But then I'm just going to go, I'm not going to treat that as my first double crochet. I'm going to kick off now, if you like. So that was just me attaching the yarn. For the row 1 of the handle pieces, I've got to start by making a double crochet in that corner space. So I'm going to go straight back in where I've just come out and make a double crochet. And then when I pull the end tight, not the working end, the other end, when I pull it tight, that's neat enough for me to be my first double crochet, and it is well hidden when you work the rest of the piece, and it's nice and secure as well. So that's why I've done it like that. Obviously you can join yours in however you're comfortable. Right, sorry, so that was my 1 double crochet in the corner space, and I'm now going to do 1 chain, and I'm now 5 times I'm going to put just a double crochet in the chain spaces that we made on that last round of our sort of our outline colour. It will be cream for you, it's blue for me. So that's 1, then 1 double crochet, 1 chain. Is it 1? Yeah, 1 double crochet, 1 chain, that's the repeat. So 1 double crochet, 1 chain, that's 2 in the next one, 3 in the next one. If you were with me on some earlier videos, it was actually yesterday I was making them, and it was so peaceful and I spoke too soon because today I've got tree surgeons next door and all sorts, so I'm so sorry for any background noise. I'll try and edit it out, sorry. Right, so that's 1 2 3 4, so that's 5 1 double crochet, 1 chain, and now finally I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the corner space. So you can just see my corner space is where those 2 stitches are coming out. Okay, so that is all the double crochets and chains in place. And the final thing I'm going to do is 1 turning chain. So just 1 chain and then flip the whole thing over. So that was row 1. Don't worry, I've sort of started to catch the end in here and it looks quite visible, but don't worry because it'll all be hidden. So if you want to crochet over your end, don't worry if it's not visible at the end. Okay, so moving on to row 2, and this row and the following row are the repeat you're going to use. And all that's tricky about, and it's not even tricky, that's the wrong word, all that you need to sort of be aware of, that's better, is sort of the beginning and the end stitches here. And as long as you get that right, everything else is completely intuitive. Okay, so I've done my turning chain from row 1. I'm now on row 2, and I begin with a double crochet, and the double crochet is going to go right into the very last double crochet we made on the previous round. So it goes right in where that chain is coming out. Okay, so just be aware of that. That always happens at the beginning of every row. Okay, now I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the chain space. So there's my chain space right there, and I'm going to put 1 double crochet in there and 1 chain, and I'm actually going to repeat that 5 times in total. So that's 1, find my chain space again, that's 2. Is this basket stitch? That's 3. I don't know. I've forever wanted to make a blanket with this stitch, and I can never remember what it's called. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I think that's 5, isn't it? So 1 2 3 4 5. Yep, so 5 times in total. I've done my 1 double crochet, 1 chain. I've got 1 chain space left at the end here, so I'm going to put 1 double crochet in there, and then I'm going to finish by putting a double crochet in the last stitch. And again, this is going to happen on all your rows, I think. So I can't get that through there because that was my beginning jiggery pokery. There we go, 1 double crochet. All right, so that completes row 2, and that is the first of our repeat that we're going to use. Done my turning chain now and flip it over again. Right, so row 3. Again, 1 double crochet in the very first stitch. So I know that's there because that's where my sort of chain is coming out of. Okay, and this time I'm doing my 1 chain first and then my 1 double crochet in the first chain space. So I'm doing the 1 chain first because it needs to hop me over a little bit further than we've worked before. So my chain space is there. You can just about see it. If I hold it a bit close, you can just about see there's 1 double crochet, there's 1 double crochet, so I know it's between the 2. So my first double crochet goes into that chain space. So I'm going to do that 5 times. Okay, so here we go. That was number 1. Here's number 2, 1 chain, 1 double crochet in the chain space. Here's number 3, 1 chain, 1 double crochet in the chain space. Here's number 4, 1 chain, 1 double crochet in the chain space. Here's number 5, 1 chain, 1 double crochet in the chain space. Okay, I'm going to make 1 chain and then 1 double crochet in the very last stitch. Okay, so I've got 1 stitch here, but I've also got 1 stitch right at the end. So you can see my 1 stitch here. That's my penultimate stitch, and the very last stitch is there. Okay, so if you think on rows 2 and 3, which we've just completed, rows 2 and 3 are your repeat rows, and you need to have 12 rows in total. So you're just going to repeat those last 2 rows 12 times. Just be aware that you're going to put 1 double crochet at the very beginning, in the very beginning stitch on both of those repeat rows, and 1 double crochet in the very end stitch on both of those repeat rows. That's all you need to do until you've got 12 rows in total. So I shall do that and come back to you when we're at the point of moving on to the next stage. Right, so I finished my 12 rows and we're now going to work row 13. And what we're going to do with row 13 is bend that piece down and secure it so that it looks like that one. Okay, so it bends back and is secured on the back so that it forms this little sort of tunnel that the chains of your handle will go through. So, sorry, the last thing I have to do on this row is my turning chain, and I'm going to turn the whole piece back to the right side. Right, so when we were joining our hexagons, we did lots of taking our hooks out and pulling loops through other stitches, and there's a little bit more of that in this one. In this section, and it's good. It's a good effect, and it's very effective in creating a nice neat join on things. So I've taken my hook out of that last turning chain, and what I'm going to do is put the hook through the loop of the first stitch at the very first row of the sort of handle part. Okay, and I have helpfully and I don't mean that, helpfully fastened off through there. So I've made that really difficult, but that's where it's going to go, through that first loop. And I'm going to just pick up just get that yarn to the back, pick up the loop of that turning chain and pull it through. So that is sort of already secured in half. Okay, so sort of familiar so far. Sort of familiar. We're now going to go back again into familiar territory because we're going to be working very similarly, that's a good word, isn't it, to what we've been doing on our rows so far, which is to say I'm going to start by doing a double crochet in the first stitch of my handle piece. So normal double crochet, okay, and then 1 chain. Take my hook out again, and I'm going to put my hook through the next loops of the stitch. Now this one, I'm going to go through both legs of the stitch there, both legs of the V. Pick my loop back up and pull it through. Okay. Right, we're now going to make our first double crochet in a chain space. So we've made we're going to make our first inner chain space double crochet. We've made our first double crochet in a stitch. We're now going to find the chain space, which is there, and make a double crochet. Hang on, I'm just going to tighten that loop a little. Try and keep the loops nice and neat so that your join is nice and neat. So go back through that chain space, almost sort of a continuation, if you like, of the rows you were working. It's just this time you're incorporating joining or sort of passing the chain that you make through the loop from the first row. So I've done my double crochet in the chain space, taken my hook out, and I'm now going through the next loop. Okay, pull it through and carry on. So just the same, just carry on, go along, putting your double crochets into the chain spaces just as you have been, and rather than just sort of leaving the chain, it's then passed through the loop below. All right, we're going to do that 5 times in total, the double crochets in the chain space. Right, so here's my 5th double crochet in a chain space and 1 chain. And now I've got one, can't get my fingers out with pulling that one out without pulling it out. I've got 1 loop left on my first row. So I'm just going to do exactly the same thing, which is put the hook through both those legs if I can get them through. Come on, come on. Oh, that's not it. That's it. And pull the loop through just as we've been doing. Oh, come on now. There we go. Okay, and now all I'm going to do is finish off by putting 1 double crochet in the very last stitch of the row. So like I said, completely familiar to what you've been doing for those 12 rows, but just incorporating the loops of the first row. So all we need to do now is fasten off, and I am going to, or how I've done it in the first one that I've done there, is I've just snipped the yarn and brought it back through the stitch, and then I've used my needle just to secure that really sort of tightly in that corner, because it is totally invisible. So I've just threaded my needle, and I'm going to just pull that tight to the work like so, and just pass it through a couple of times so it's lovely and secure at that corner point. You don't want it to be sort of a weak point really. All right, so that'll do, won't it? That'll do. And snip, and there we go. So now we've got 2. I've got to do 2 more obviously, but like I said, if I pop my hook through there, you can see you've created this lovely loop which your handles are going to go through. So I'm going to finish mine and we'll move on to the final part.